Ashe, everyone. So I'm not gonna hold you. I'm using a different side. Like I have the camera like elongated, and it's not easy to know what to look at. So I'm gonna make sure I'm looking this way. Hopefully we're doing this right. But yeah, I have a word for you. Recycled blessings. And what does this mean? Listen, I'm about to take you to church, the Church of Shay. Listen to me. Recycle blessings came to me while I was doing Uber. As you know, maybe you don't know, your girl does Uber on this side. And I started doing Uber, I think it was like probably 2 years ago, because I needed to pay a bill for my dentist and for my dentistry work. And what happened was Uber came, it fell in my lap, and it was so easy. And I was like, oh, this was a blessing. And I was able to pay it off using Uber. So what happened was after I did that, I kind of got derailed on my business, Shayla Solutions. I started to lose the creative energy, and I started to put more time into Uber as if Uber was going to sustain my life. I don't know. And while I was doing Uber today, something came to me like, Shayla, you're recycling your blessing of what Uber did for you year ago or 2 years ago or whenever it started. And because you're recycling that blessing, you are now hitting walls. Now you feel like, well, God, what am I supposed to do? Spirit, guide me. Where am I going? What's supposed to happen? And Spirit told me, like, well, first you got to let that blessing go. It was what it was at that time. It served its purpose. So let me tell you something. Some of y'all are in a stuck energy. Like your girl, listen, this is not an attack. This is just a conversation. Some of y'all are in a stuck energy, wondering where to go, what to do next, what's next in store for you. And the reason why you can't see it is because you're still holding on to when you were blessed in a magnificent and magnanimous way back in 2010, back in 2015, back in 2020. You're still believing, well, Spirit must not be able to bless me that big again. That blessing was so big. What I'm going to do is I'm going to just marinate on this. I'm going to meditate on this blessing. Whenever life starts to shake me up and shift me and try to stretch me to a capacity that I don't think I'm ready for, I'm just going to gracefully and peacefully remind myself of when I was blessed 3 years ago. And some of y'all don't even realize that's what you're doing. Let me take these glasses off. Some of y'all don't even realize that's what you're doing. You're holding up your gift, your calling, you're holding up the blessings that are supposed to be bestowed upon you because you are so attracted to when you were blessed in such a big way years ago that your mind cannot imagine, it cannot fathom the idea of something bigger and greater coming later on. So you gonna tell me, Spirit, that you got me out of an abusive relationship with 2 kids, and out of nowhere, a house was available for me. You gonna tell me you gonna bless me bigger? Yes. That's what I'm saying. So you're telling me I was able to get off of drugs and I was able to heal myself and restore my family relationships, and you're gonna tell me you got something bigger for me? Yes, that's what is being told. So you gonna tell me that the building that I live in was my safe haven. I got this because I was in a crazy situation, and now I'm here. You gonna tell me you got something bigger for me? Yes. That is exactly what Spirit is saying. But some of us, myself included, is so attracted by when those blessings were blessing us in that moment, we just can't imagine that there's something greater, that there's something bigger. And let me tell you what happens when you have, or when you keep playing with recycled blessings. You contaminate where you're supposed to go because you are using something old for something new. Perfect example, okay? When you scrape your knee and you have a boo-boo, you never go and dig through the trash for that old band-aid when you had a boo-boo a month ago, because what will happen is it will catch a bacterial infection. It will cause a decay to happen in the skin. What do? You go into the band-aid box and you get a new band-aid. So some of y'all have recycled band-aids in your pocket, and you pulled that thing out whenever Spirit is saying it's time to elevate. You're like, nah, I'm gonna just keep reusing this one blessing. I literally, let me put this in, let me say this. I literally was holding, and still is holding, myself up because I'm believing with my wholeheartedness that the blessing that was for me 2 years ago can still sustain me now. And that is a lie. And see, that's where depression comes. That's where stagnation comes. That's where procrastination comes. That's where self-defeat, limiting beliefs, self-sabotage, all of that comes from you holding on to something that was good for you in a season at a time for a purpose. And you're trying to carry that for years on end. Baby, you drained the blessing. It's done. You're just getting droplets. You're just getting droplets. But Spirit is saying, listen, let that go. I gave it to you for a reason, for a purpose, in that time, at that moment, when you needed it, for it to do what it needed to do in that moment. Now you're just missing it. And you know what happens with tainted blessings? With recycled blessings? What happens is it can taint what it did in that moment. Because I was really trying to overuse Uber and make Uber my job, I started to question if Uber really was a blessing when it was. And Spirit was like, oh, hold up. Yes, it was. When it was time to help you, it helped you. When it was time to do what it needed to do, it did what it did. And see, that's what happens. Some of us, you're trying to hold on to the blessing that happened years ago, months ago, weeks ago, and we start to taint it, whether we know it or not. We start to taint it because it's not working now. We wonder if it really did work when it worked. And the reality is, yes, it did work when it worked. But you are now you're devaluing it because you're so afraid that you believe in something so limited. Because let's just be real. When you say, I'm going to just hold on to what you did for me back then, what you're saying is, I don't believe that you're really powerful. You're not as big as I believe you to be, Spirit, God, source, whatever you believe in, to really do it again on a bigger scale. I don't believe that you're really able to bless me the way I be praying. See, some of y'all be praying, fasting, meditating, using your crystals, whatever, to get a breakthrough. But if you understand, Spirit, source, God listens to the desires of your heart. So if the desire of your heart is, I'm not going to make it, I'm not going to do good, this is my life, but you praying and fasting for a good relationship, for financial stability, for a peace of mind, but you have already put it in your heart that you are defeated, trust and believe that will be the answer that you receive. You will receive things that remind you that you're defeated, that you're lost, that you broke, that you'll never have nobody, that you always going to be alone. But if you fulfill, listen, understand, question the desires of your heart, if you start to move some energies around in your heart, then you can get to the root and be like, I have been praying wrong because the desires in my heart were actually darkness. They were actually limited. And that's why a lot of my prayers didn't get answered. That's why a lot of the things that I thought I wanted, I didn't really get. Because the reality was the desires of my heart, it wasn't on the same alignment. And aren't you grateful that you believe, you serve, you worship, whatever, to a spirit that knows what you don't even know and prevents you from getting it? Because if you really got it, when you really was in self-sabotage mode, it would be crazy. It would be crazy. So listen, this was the service for you today because it came to me with such energy. I had to give it to you with such energy. Ask yourself, am I still living in the blessing that had me 2 years ago, but I have been feeling a tug. I have been feeling a nudge to do something new, to take a new risk, to elevate my mind, to let go of different things and different concepts. Am I still meditating on this old blessing and I'm trying to carry it to where I am now? Because if you are, stop and forgive yourself. Don't even beat yourself up. Forgive yourself for the way that you mistreated a blessing that was so beautiful and delicate in that moment, and how you knew. Because see, we know when it's time to let a blessing go. We know when it's time to acknowledge this blessing was for this season at that time in my life. And now I'm ready to do something new. We know Spirit will give us nudges. We'll feel it in our body. We'll start looking at situations like this don't feel right no more. Anytime you try to stretch a blessing and recycle it so that it can fit you where you are now, you'll know when you're doing that, when now that blessing seems to annoy you. And when a blessing starts to annoy you, trust and believe it's not, that blessing ain't for you. It ain't for you, because then you'll start to mislabel the blessing as a curse, as an attack from the devil, as whatever you want to call it. You'll mislabel it because you use something that was for you in that season. Now you're trying to carry it into this season, and God in spirit, source, whatever, is like, no, that was for you then, because that's where you were in that moment. And let me trickle this over a little bit. This goes for people. Some of y'all believe that the person that you was with when you were 22, 25, 30, 45, whatever, was the love of your life. Everything was moving and flowing and everything. And now you're like, well, who am I supposed to be now that I'm no longer with this person? Where am I supposed to go? And it's like you're trying to tug that energy as if you are going to die, as if you're gonna frizzle apart, as if pieces of you is just gonna be leaking everywhere because this person left. And that's another, you're recycling something. Let it go. If they want to leave, let them leave, because they were there for you in that season, for that time, in that purpose. Y'all not hearing me. Listen, okay? Y'all need to stop. Take it. And until next time.